All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Armchair Armdrager podcast. As always, I'm your host, Ben Hersick. Episode number 37 is what we are at today. And I am really bad at social media, so I forgot to post that I was switching to Saturday releases this semester. Whoops. Anyway, yeah, we're going to be releasing these episodes now. Well, I'll be releasing these episodes now on Saturdays because of the workload I have this semester. Super busy on Thursdays, so don't have time to record to put things out on Friday. That's the gist of it. But as always, before we get too far into this episode, you can follow myself on Twitter at Churro Soldier. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. You can follow All Things Combat, which is a website where I cover professional wrestling, but we also cover boxing and MMA. You can follow them at Things Combat. Also, I'm the sports editor over at The Cauldron at Cleveland State. Last semester being on that staff, last semester of school in general. So, yeah, give them a follow over at CSU Cauldron. We have our first issue going to print. Let's see, we're finished with layout and everything on Sunday. It will be printed on Tuesday next week. So there won't be any links to articles in the description this week, but there will be some next week. I'm still trying to learn how to speak today, even though I got off of work at 1:30. Yay. So this week, it's been a bit of a quiet week for me, at least in pro wrestling. I'm kind of in a weird phase with pro wrestling where I'm still following it and still enjoying it, but I haven't really watched wrestling since Wrestle Kingdom. So I'm kind of trying to figure out ideas and stuff. I have ideas for the next few weeks. So this week we have, you'll see in the title, it's theories about the Royal Rumble matches. We're getting closer and closer to the Rumble. The Rumble is actually next week, which is kind of quickly approaching. And we have, God, how many matches do we even have? It's loading. I love that I can rely on things to not load when I need them to load. I know we have at least 3 matches. We have 5 matches. For one of your big 5 shows, you have 5 matches announced. That's great. So next week we will have predictions. The week after we will have a breakdown. I have an idea 2 weeks out, but I kind of want to save that one. That's like a bit of a surprise, a bit of a different thing. So this week I figured let's talk about the theories some people have made for the Royal Rumble match and specific winners for the Royal Rumble matches. Let's start with the Rumble I'm not as excited for. That would be the men's. So you look at the field that's been announced for the men's Royal Rumble match. You have Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Eric Rowan, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, Elias, Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Otis and Tucker, Rusev, Lashley, Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Cain Velasquez, and Brock Lesnar. The WWE Champion is in the Royal Rumble match. I don't really like that. But the theories I've heard and rumors that I've heard go around with this is whoever eliminates Brock Lesnar gets the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. My initial fear is that it's Cain Velasquez. I don't necessarily want a Cain Velasquez Brock Lesnar match at WrestleMania. I didn't enjoy the first Brock Lesnar Cain Velasquez match because I really don't care. Yes, I'll admit Cain Velasquez is a really great wrestler in the ring when you give him a chance. That at that point, yes, he did have his knee issue. So am I being a little critical early? Maybe. But I think if you look at it, it makes sense too. It makes a lot of sense to have Cain Velasquez eliminate Brock Lesnar because of the fact that it would set up an easy match for WrestleMania. It would be an obvious match that would happen, but is it a match that people want to see? The answer to that Hell no. People do not want to see this match. Now, yes, granted, there probably are some people out there who are like, no, that's the exact WrestleMania match I want to see. If that's the case, good for you. But to me, it doesn't make sense. I don't like it. But also, right now, we look at it, 18 of the 30 entrants have been announced for the Rumble match. I don't think we're going to have all 30 be announced. I'm hoping we still have a couple of surprise entrants. Now, it was said that there's no plans for NXT to be involved. However, I think they're going to be involved a little bit too. I think we're not going to see an NXT person win both Rumbles. Slight spoiler, I guess, for who I think is winning the Women's Rumble. But I think that there's a good chance we see a couple people. I wouldn't be surprised if Adam Cole pops up. I wouldn't be surprised if we see, I would say Ciampa, but I don't really know with how his neck is and all that. Maybe we see him get a spot in there. Maybe we see, maybe we see Gargano. Maybe we see Balor, and you can have Balor be like eliminated by Gargano to continue that feud. And then Gargano can get like eliminated from behind by like Andrade or somebody. But now, like, why am I talking about the NXT guys? Because of the fact that theories for the Royal Rumble aren't just theories of who wins. And there's a very popular theory going around for the Men's Rumble. I both love the idea and am horrified of the idea. The idea I'm talking about is Edge returning in the Rumble. Now, with Edge returning, it's twofold. One, yes, I'm absolutely going to be super happy if he can go. Two, though, I said this with Shibata, and I know when I've said this with Shibata, I've said the same rule for people like Edge. If he is not 100% medically cleared and able to wrestle at his best, I don't want to see it. I would like to see younger guys get the opportunities, yes, but I've been a fan of Edge ever since I found pro wrestling. I've enjoyed his stuff for so long. So it would be kind of almost a good thing to see him wrestle again, but it's also kind of like, if it's not at his best, I'm not going to be excited about it, if that kind of makes sense. He's one of the best to ever step in the ring, but you don't want to have that legacy he has be tarnished because he came back one too many times. And yeah, like, he never lost his retirement match. He never had a retirement match. His last match he won against Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania 27. So it would be nice to see him come back, maybe have a little retirement tour, like the one last hurrah road trip. But you have to do it right, and you have to play your cards very carefully with that. And if we do get to WrestleMania and Edge is still able to go and he has a WrestleMania match, there's one person, somebody brought this up on Twitter, and I don't remember who it was. But there's one match I want to see Edge have at WrestleMania. And that's against his old tag team partner, his old friend, and his old rival, Randy Orton. But now that I've thought about it a little more, there's another match that I find rather intriguing if we can see it happen. Edge versus AJ Styles. AJ right now has no clear path to WrestleMania. It's fair saying with Orton, but we'll see where that goes. But also, you look at it, that's two guys who were at the top of their companies at the same time going head-to-head against each other in a dream match. That's something I want to see. That is a story that would be a phenomenal match too. But those are just some ideas there. But I don't know. Edge is such a weird idea, possibly, of him even being in the Rumble. If he is, and it's still a big if, let's hope he can. Let's hope he's okay at least. Let's hope that he's 100% medically cleared, can do this. And I'm not going to be disappointed if he doesn't show up. I'm not going to be so upset that Edge is not in the Rumble. I would be completely fine with it. But that's me. So back to the Brock Lesnar idea, where whoever eliminates him gets the championship match. You would think it would have to be a Raw superstar. So you look at who's in the match so far from Raw. You can kind of rule out a few people. Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, Rusev, Bobby Lashley, Aleister Black, and Buddy Murphy. Those guys are all either in different feuds, or, while yes, we like to see it, it's probably not going to happen, specifically with Ricochet. Or it's that we've seen it before. Also, Eric Rowan. It's because he's breaking up two guys. I didn't see Rowan's name in that group. Those guys all kind of don't really need a match with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Murphy now aligning with Seth Rollins and AOP with whatever we're going to call this group. What are we actually going to call it? Because Seth Rollins is the Monday Night Messiah. So it's got to be some sort of biblical thing, I would think. But we'll see. But yeah, with Murphy aligning himself with, I forgot his name already, Seth Rollins. We'll see where that goes and what that does. You have Aleister Black, who is in that feud with Buddy Murphy. Rusev and Lashley have their feud going on. You have Ricochet, who's not really doing much right now, so him eliminating Brock would be kind of like a wait, why thing. Rey Mysterio recently had a title shot, so no. And Rowan, he's got the whole thing with the cage, and I don't really know what's going on there. If I had to guess excuse me, I don't know why I'm so tired. If I had to guess what was in that cage, early guess is tarantula. I could see a tarantula being in there. So you look at the Raw superstars currently announced. We're down to 3 people who could eliminate Brock Lesnar and make sense. There's 2 guys on SmackDown side. One's Baron Corbin, one's Roman Reigns. I don't think they want to even remotely think about doing a cross-brand thing at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. So we're down to AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and Drew McIntyre. I've pitched the idea of Edge versus both Orton and Styles, and I wouldn't mind either of them. So that leaves Drew McIntyre. The theory that McIntyre eliminates Lesnar, it kind of lines up, too. You look at it, it lines up with McIntyre suddenly turning face out of nowhere. It lines up with, McIntyre kicking and destroying the No Way Jose conga line, but then the fans cheering him when No Way Jose is supposed to be a face? Question marks about that? And then you look at it, his match with Orton and Styles, McIntyre looked dominant as a face. It kind of makes sense. So McIntyre also getting this push out of nowhere, it seemed, is because, at least like from reports and rumors, it's not because Paul Heyman's high on him. To be fair, a lot of people are high on McIntyre. I've been high on McIntyre since he returned as at an NXT. But this is because of the BT Sport deal and them wanting to have a prominent face from the UK scene. Enter Drew McIntyre. And I told this to a couple people. They were surprised. If McIntyre is the one to beat Lesnar, he would be the first ever UK WWE champion. It wouldn't be British Bulldog. It wouldn't be William Regal. It wouldn't be any of the great British wrestlers that came before McIntyre. It wouldn't be of any of the great Scottish wrestlers that came before McIntyre. McIntyre would be the first. That would be a very interesting thing to see. I still am kind of holding out hope that the Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens story is done before the Rumble or at the Rumble, and then we see Owens in the Rumble. because I really wanted Kevin Owens to be the one to knock off Lesnar, but I would be totally fine if it is McIntyre. Some people don't like McIntyre, and I've seen this on Twitter, and I don't get it. I don't get why there's hate for McIntyre. He's not necessarily the most entertaining, yes, but he's not super boring. He's not technical, yet he's able to get himself over with the crowds. So why do people not like him? I don't really get it. But you look for a winner in the Rumble too. The men's Rumble, it kind of came down to 3 people, I guess, kind of. You had McIntyre, you had Owens, and Roman Reigns. I feel like if McIntyre is the one to eliminate Brock Lesnar, then Roman Reigns is the obvious winner. It would be his second Rumble in 5 years. I think, if the math's right. Would it be 5 years or would it be 6? Because he won it in 2013. I'm trying to remember every Rumble winner off the top of my head right now. He won it in 13 or 14. So him winning it in 20 would be relatively quick. And I said that on Twitter. I'm like, Roman doesn't need to win 2 Rumbles this quickly in his career. And then somebody said, well, what about Steve Austin? That's because you pushed nobody else in the Attitude Era. It was just Stone Cold and The Rock. And eventually later Triple H. Maybe Shawn Michaels is in there somewhere. But they don't push certain guys, so the same people keep winning the same matches, which is why Austin won 3 in 4 years. And he should have gone 4 for 4 if it wasn't for Vince. And the Alliance, essentially. Not the Alliance. Vince and Corporation. It's Corporation, that's what it was. So, now you look at it, though, with Roman Reigns winning this match, it kind of completes the whole comeback story. And I'm totally fine with that. I don't have anything against Roman winning the match, but it's also the most common outcome. And in a match where you don't enjoy the most common outcome, why give us the most likely winner in Rumble history? Just like a personal little thing there. Like I said, nothing bad against Roman. It's just, it feels simple. It feels like that's what's going to be the answer. That's what should be the answer. But you don't necessarily want it to be the answer. But we will see come January 26th, maybe-ish. I don't know. But that's also just the men's Rumble. There's still a whole nother hour-long match that's going to be taking place at the Royal Rumble. And that's the women's Royal Rumble. Right now, this one's a little harder to call, quote-unquote, harder to call. You have 4 entrants right now. They are Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, and Sarah Logan. It's nice that they're actually giving Sarah Logan stuff to do now. I'm very happy with that. But that's still 26 spots left. And there's still the likes of Kairi Sane, Natalya, Sasha Banks, who hasn't even entered yet, and a bunch of others. I'm blanking so hard on the WWE Women's roster right now. Dana Brooke, Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, the Iconics, wherever they've been, who knows. This feels like it's a one-woman race. But there are some theories that have gone around that I've kind of enjoyed actually looking at and reading. And this was like the Rumble match that made me actually want to do a podcast about it. So let's start with one theory that I think I might have come up with this one. No, somebody on Twitter did. Was it Twitter or was it me, actually? I might have at least like thought of this and then saw it on Twitter. I'm like, okay, I'm not the only person that's thinking this. So, one potential winner is Charlotte Flair. She's a Flair. It's one of the few things she hasn't done in her career. She hasn't won the Rumble. She hasn't won Money in the Bank. She's won every other women's championship. She hasn't won the tag titles yet, but come WrestleMania, who knows at that point? We've seen this with Charlotte though. We've never seen this with Charlotte, actually. We've never seen her really on a show with nothing to do. She's got nothing going on right now. She had a brawl with Sarah Logan 2 weeks ago. I think she had a promo last week. She's not done much these past few weeks. Ever since the tag team title lost to the Kabuki Warriors, she's kind of just been there. Which is weird when she's a 10-time women's champion. She's just been there. So, if she wins the Rumble, here's an idea. She could go after Becky Lynch, she could go after Bayley, but she could also go for option C. Early reports and rumors I've read are that NXT is going to be involved in Wrestlemania somehow. It's not really clear how yet, but somehow NXT will be involved. What if Charlotte Flair wins the Rumble and challenges Rhea Ripley to a match at WrestleMania? And she has a legitimate reason to do so. Go back a few weeks before Survivor Series. It was the triple threat between Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Sasha Banks, the three respective captains for their NXT teams. Or for their traditional Survivor Series tag team matchups. Charlotte got pinned by Rhea Ripley while she had the figure eight in on Sasha Banks. Charlotte wants revenge for that. That's the whole build. That's the whole story. Charlotte's in NXT, a big name, gets people interested in NXT. We could see something like that. Is it the most likely outcome? No. I think whoever eliminates Charlotte is going to have a rocket strapped to them, essentially, and they're going to ascend high up the card. But I'm also curious if Charlotte does somehow play into the the women's tag team scene for WrestleMania. Because with talks of at least one of them possibly leaving and the other maybe wanting to go back to NXT, maybe Kabuki Warriors might not be around for long. Who knows? Speaking of Kabuki Warriors, the next theory that I've read is Kairi Sane wins the Rumble. On the same night, Asuka wins the Raw Women's Championship from Becky Lynch. This would also make Asuka a Grand Slam champion, the second one to do so, behind Bayley. So, what if that happens and Kairi Sane challenges Asuka? As it's a friend versus a friend. I think those two have matched it before in Japan. Maybe? I think. But you have those two match up here. They're still tag team champions. So it's like, well, okay, this is going to be like a friend versus friend match. They lose the tag team championships because Asuka or Kairi Sane continues to be the heel. Maybe we get Pirate Kairi back for the WrestleMania that has an actual pirate ship theme. And it has a pirate ship in the stadium. Who knows? But is that a very likely outcome? No, because technically there's been no official word on if Kairi Sane is medically cleared to compete or not yet at the time of recording. So it's still a theory that is, while enjoyable, could be a little outlandish right now. We'll have to wait and see if Kairi's even going to be in the match to even have that theory possibly be true. The next one is Sasha Banks. However, I've said this a lot, and it's the same thing I've said with the Roman Reigns versus The Fiend story. You don't need the Rumble win attached to this story. You don't need the Rumble win for the Sasha Banks versus Bayley story. Ever since Sasha has come back, she's taken a back seat to her best friend, quote unquote, Bayley. So you have Sasha win the Rumble and have like a friendly challenge with Bayley for the title. But Bayley is the one who stays heel and Sasha is the face of this story. Maybe she keeps the blue hair too. I don't know. I'm kind of digging the blue. But you look at it, this match, people know the story for this match. They had the legendary rivalry in NXT. They had their feud. They haven't had a feud in the main roster. They were the first ever women's tag team champions. And we've had that feud teased here and there on the main roster, but they've never been like, yeah, we're going to do it. They've never pulled that trigger. So maybe they finally pull the trigger for WrestleMania in a match that doesn't need a Rumble win. So there's one other theory before the theory I believe to be true. I think Ruby Riott would be a very interesting Rumble winner. And yes, I'm a huge mark for Ruby. I think she's a very phenomenal wrestler. She's very underrated in my opinion. That's just me, but it's what I think. So, yeah. But you look at the Riott Squad. Liv's got this whole thing with Lana going on right now that I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't hate the feud. I'm happy it's getting Liv back on TV. It's getting Rusev amazing time. It's giving Lashley a chance to look great. But it's not the most well thought out plan that I've seen in pro wrestling. And Sarah Logan seems to have something going on. Maybe. She had the brawl with Charlotte, and she said that she's no longer wrestling, but she's just going to be like a brawler. So it seems like 2 of the 3 members of the Riott Squad have an actual story going forward right now. That leaves the leader, Ruby Riott, with nothing to do. She's been out for almost 10, 11 months. No, almost like 9 months. After shoulder surgery. I believe it's the same surgery Sami Zayn had. Might want to check me on that. It's been reported she's at the Performance Center, and her return date is reported as January 2020. So maybe we see her in the Rumble. And she would be an interesting one to actually have a really good performance. So that way you could start to establish her and build her up. However, I think if you do have her in the Rumble, you have to determine what show she's actually on. Same with Nia Jax, if Nia Jax is in the Rumble. We determine what show they're on. I think personally, I would rather have Nia on Raw and Ruby on SmackDown. Especially if, after the Sasha versus Bayley story is done, you separate Sasha and Bayley and don't let them touch for a little while. You then have to have somebody who could be a feasible challenger. Enter Ruby Riott. It would make sense, especially after a great Rumble performance. Maybe she wins the Battle Royal at WrestleMania. And you start to build up Ruby to actually be a legitimate threat for a championship. And maybe she actually wins one. Because you look at it, Ruby Riott doesn't have a bad win-loss record in WWE. Ever since coming to the main roster, Riott Squad have actually won a good number of their matches. So, maybe we see the start of Ruby Riott to get built up at the Rumble, but it's a very, very dark horse pick to actually have her win the match. Especially when it feels like the winner has been set in stone since November. It has to be Shayna Baszler. Becky Lynch has no real competition on Raw. She's going to beat Asuka because, of course. And she's going to have nobody to wrestle in WrestleMania. Except for somebody who stole a win from her. Go back to the Survivor Series. Shayna Baszler beat Bayley. Becky was not involved in that decision, but it still counted in the loss column for Becky. This story is kind of written itself since Baszler dropped the NXT Women's Championship to Rhea Ripley. Becky has lost to Asuka. She's going to right that again. She's lost to Asuka again. She's going to right that wrong this year at the Royal Rumble. And then we have the story of you never beat me, but it's a loss in my record book, and I want that win back. And plus, it gives Shayna Baszler an instant push so that people know who she is who don't typically watch NXT. And you have her just dominate. She can be maybe the best heel in women's wrestling ever. To be fair, a lot of women's wrestlers don't really get really good heel runs. We've seen a few of them. Charlotte's hasn't been horrible, but it hasn't been great. Becky had a very brief one, but everybody loved her still, so that doesn't necessarily count, maybe. You have, like, the most recent heel I can think of in the women's division was Michelle McCool and Layla. That was really it. And before that, Mickie James and Melina come to mind. But you have a story there already with Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch. So tell that story. And maybe you don't let Baszler tap out Lynch. Maybe you have Lynch pass out so that way she still looks strong going forward. Maybe she moves to SmackDown too. I don't really know exactly about that, but we will see because SmackDown really needs help with their women's division, let's be completely honest. Because when you have 3 names and 2 of them are aligned together, you're kind of out of stuff to do. But Baszler makes the most sense, I think. Her coming back in the Battle Royal on NXT was pretty much just to put over the next big name they're going to start building up in the women's division in Shotzi Blackheart, which I'm very excited to see. Shotzi is somebody completely different from the mold that we've seen with NXT wrestlers. She's not super technical. She's not super high fly. She's just gritty and gutsy. And I'm like, yes, give me this. But that is what I have. Those are like theories and possible winners and possible people to eliminate Brock Lesnar. It's not going to be a good title, but who knows? Maybe I go with it. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, you can follow myself on Twitter at Churro Soldier. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. You can follow All Things Combat on Twitter at Things Combat. They cover professional wrestling, boxing, and MMA. I'm on the professional wrestling stuff. I'll probably be doing live coverage for the Royal Rumble. Depends on a couple other things going on in that day. If not, we'll figure it out that day, and you'll know about it when we know. And you can also follow the Cauldron for Cleveland State, which is the student-run newspaper over at CSU Cauldron. I'm the sports editor over there. We have layout on Sunday, which I'm very, very ready for and very excited. Hopefully my articles get done by then. We'll see. But that is it for this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hit subscribe if you feel like it. Hit like if you want. Leave a comment if you want. Next week we have Royal Rumble predictions. Hopefully we have more than 5 matches and I'm not like sitting here at like 15 minutes like, how do I fill this time? I'll see you guys next week and hopefully we have a few more matches to talk about.